This is Colin O'Keefe for LXBN TV. On Election Day last year, Washington state voters approved the legalization of marijuana, but there's still much to be done before we see the environment and marketplace many envision. Joining me now to discuss the steps ahead is Claire Mitchell of Stoel, Rives, and the Alcoholic Beverages Law Blog. Claire, what is going on right now, and what has taken place thus far regarding I-502 and businesses? I assume they're kind of just working out the processes, correct?
Sure, yeah. That's absolutely right, Colin. So as you mentioned, I-502 was passed by Washington voters back in November. Since then, the Washington State Liquor Control Board has been charged with implementing the new law. So over the course of the next year, they're going to be drafting rules and regulations that will hopefully be in place and adopted by December 1st, 2013. And currently, we haven't seen a draft of those proposed rules yet. They're still just sort of beginning the formal rulemaking process. But there still has been quite a lot of activity since the law was passed. As I'm sure most people are aware, this was quite a newsworthy event on December 6th. It became officially legal in the state of Washington to possess a certain quantity of marijuana for recreational use, Washington residents age 21 and over. But in addition to that, the Liquor Control Board is also initiating the rulemaking process. And the first step in doing that is soliciting public comment on how the law should effectively be implemented. So the first public forum was actually held last night, and there's a second one that'll be held tomorrow night in Seattle. In addition to that, the board has also established a tentative timeline of when we can expect to see some of these draft rules and final rules, and when we can expect the licenses to start being issued in the state.
Interesting. So second, what type of system do you expect to see in place, and how soon before we do see businesses selling legalized marijuana in Washington state?
The system that's currently being created is going to have some complexities to it that, of course, we don't have time to probably fully get into here, but the general idea is that it's going to be a three-tiered licensing structure similar to the liquor license application process. So the new law establishes licenses for marijuana producers, processors, and retailers. An interesting point there is that you can't hold all three licenses at the same time. However, a producer and a process, there can be an individual holding a producer and a processor license. So in talking to some of my colleagues about this, you can essentially grow marijuana and you can bake it into a brownie if you want to, but you can't sell that to the public. You have to go through a retail outlet. The licenses will have an application process. There'll be a fee associated with that, and then an annual renewal fee. And there will also be a limited number of these licenses issued by the state. They're still kind of figuring out how exactly that's going to work, whether they're going to do a lottery process, but there's going to be several factors involved. And in terms of when we can start to see these, the Liquor Control Board has issued this tentative timeline that I mentioned earlier. And based on that, it seems that we could see producer licenses as early as mid-August. Retailer licenses will probably be issued a little bit later in the year, towards November. And once that happens, the sale of marijuana will then become legal in the state of Washington.
So we are on the verge, of course, of Washington businesses being allowed to legally sell marijuana. But, of course, businesses could face some heat from federal authorities with marijuana being still legal at a federal level. What does this mean for, businesses who are looking to get into this industry?
You're absolutely right. So marijuana is still considered a Schedule I controlled substance under federal law. As of right now, the Department of Justice is analyzing both Washington and Colorado's new laws to determine what, if any, course of action they're planning on taking. As far as we know right now, state and federal officials seem to be maintaining an open dialogue, but I think it's still a little too early to tell exactly how this is all going to play out, but we'll be keeping an eye on the progress on that.
Once again, that was Claire Mitchell, author on the Alcoholic Beverages Law Blog. For more of her insight, visit alcoholicbeverageslawblog.com, and for curated commentary from the Lex Blog Network's thousands of authors. Along with more video interviews, of course, come visit us at lxbn.com. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.